Hey guys, this is Nick. Welcome to another episode of StrangeSpotting. Today's video is the first in a series dedicated to the analysis of folklore, mythology, and specific events, stories, and theories. In other words, a rational exploration of mysteries not limited to a single piece of footage, but something with a wider scope. In these videos, I will also allow myself a little more room for speculation. I'm going to start this series with a topic I find extremely fascinating: little people, which in the cryptozoology circle are referred to with the more scientific term proto-pygmies. Within this umbrella term are included several mythological beings from many different cultures around the world. And due to eyewitness reports and some considerations that I'll share with you along this video, I entertain the idea that there might be some truth to these legends. I will begin with the Nimerigar, a legendary race of little people described in the folklore of the Shoshone Native American people of North America's Rocky Mountains. I really hope you will enjoy this video as much or even more than I did making it. The name these mythological people are called with, Nimerigar, is actually the Arapaho-Algonquian variant. The Shoshone or Uto-Aztecan version is Ninimbe, which would translate both to mountain men and to people eaters. According to Shoshone tales, they were a race of tiny people with a height ranging from 2 to 3 feet, very aggressive towards humans and very skilled at hunting and fighting. A recurrent element in the legends is their customary use of poisoned arrows and their penchant for anthropophagy. In this regard, many tales feature Ninimbe stealing children and devouring them. It is also said that they would kill their own with a blow to the head when they could not be an active part of society due to old age, illness, or injury. One last thing to round up the information that can be gathered from the Shoshone legends is that this tribe of tiny people lived in the area of the Wind River and Pedro Mountains, within the confines of the modern state of Wyoming. David Zeisberger is a fairly well-known figure in American history. Born in present-day Czech Republic and raised in Germany, he later moved to America and spent the rest of his life as a missionary with the goal of converting Native Americans to Christianity, and published a few books about their history. In the book Centennial History of Shoshone County by William J. Balmer, there is a clear reference to the fact that Zeisberger believed Nimerigar and other little peoples in North America to be real, because he was aware of a burial ground close to Shoshone, Ohio, containing the remains of several pygmies about 3 feet tall. He also mentioned another even bigger ancient graveyard in Coffee County, Tennessee, where thousands of the same dwarf-like people were buried. It's very important to mention that the discovery of the Tennessee graveyard was widely reported in 1876 by the New York Times and the Anthropological Journal. Unfortunately, the exact location of these cemeteries was lost to time. The idea that little people were mere folk tales was called into question when two gold prospectors, Cecil Maine and Frank Carr, used dynamite to open a section of a mountain in the Pedro Range. The explosion exposed a small cavern, inside which the two men found a tiny mummy sitting cross-legged upon a ledge. The pygmy-like man was 6.5 inches tall in seated position, and it was estimated that it would have been 14 inches standing. They immediately transported it to the closest city, Casper, and soon scientists from all over the nation came to take a look at Pedro, which quickly became the little mummy's nickname. Most anthropologists called it a hoax, a clever work of taxidermy, but the extensive tests performed on it, including X-rays, revealed that inside was a perfectly formed skeleton, that the canines were overly pointed, and that the cause of death was, take a guess, a violent blow that smashed in the skull. As for what exactly the mummy was, according to the tests performed by the American Museum of Natural History and certified by the anthropology department at Harvard University, at the moment of death, Pedro was a full-grown adult, about 65 years old. On the other hand, the University of Wyoming concluded that, and I quote it verbatim, it was an anencephalic infant whose cranial deformity gave it the appearance of a miniature adult. After the debate waned and interest in the tiny mummy faded, Pedro was kept as an attraction for a few years in a drugstore in Meeteetse, Wyoming, then bought by a Casper businessman by the name of Ivan T. Goodman, and later sold to another businessman from New York, Leonard Wedler. Its present location is unknown, and an offer of $10,000 by an unknown person wanting to prove evolution wrong was not enough to make Pedro resurface. In the 1990s, another mummy with similar characteristics and in crossed legs position was discovered. It was a female mummy kept by a Native American family in the attic for several generations. This one was nicknamed Chiquita, and after an examination by University of Wyoming anthropologist George Gill and DNA testing by the Denver Children's Hospital, it was determined to be another anencephalic infant that died in the 18th century. It was also determined that she was, despite having blonde hair, of Native American origin. What I normally do in the footage analysis videos is extrapolating directly observable features and draw a probabilistic conclusion based on elements that either support or detract from the footage plausibility. For obvious reasons, that can be done here, hence the word inference, which stands for making a logical judgment on the basis of circumstantial evidence rather than direct observation. On face value, the whole story seems to be just a big collective bias in wanting to consider the two tiny mummies, especially the first one, as proof of the existence of a mythical race of little people. Science proved that those mummies were just human babies suffering from a disease that impedes the head's correct development. If we were to call our hypothesis existence of Nimerigar, the detracting elements would be the DNA results and the morphological exams conducted, in both cases, by a single institution, plus the fact that Pedro's estimated standing height, 14 inches, would be inconsistent with the 2 to 3 feet normally attributed to Nimerigar in Shoshone legends. But that could be explained with Pedro being a short individual, even among his kind. There are quite a few logical inconsistencies, though. In the 18th century, a religious figure trying to convert Native Americans, therefore having no interest whatsoever in validating local folklore, thought that the Nimerigar were real, and knew of a great number of corpses with the exact physical features described in the Shoshone tales dug out in a specific location. In 1876, a newspaper with nationwide distribution and a scientific periodical announced the discovery of another similar cemetery, this time with thousands of corpses no taller than 3 feet each, and all buried in a crossed-leg position. We could consider those two burial grounds just tall tales that even important publications could fall for. But how did they come up with that detail of crossed legs, given that two mummies with that specific body disposition were found only in the following century? It could be argued that yes, maybe those graveyards were discovered, but they contained anencephalic babies. But if we accept this explanation, then we must accept also the numbers that go with it, which would be tens or hundreds for the Ohio burial ground and thousands for the Tennessee one, which begs the question, how could there be so many babies in the Native American tribes with that congenital anomaly? According to an open access paper on the website of the Reproductive Health Journal, anencephaly has a worldwide incidence of 8.3 per 10,000 births. It has been estimated that the entire native population of the North American continent between the 17th and 18th century was between 7 and 8 millions. Are we to think that such a small population could produce thousands of children with anencephaly? The other discrepancy, in my opinion, is that the Harvard certified tests established in no uncertain terms that Pedro was killed with a blow to the back of the head, hence the squeezed shape of the head, which is consistent with oral legends that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years. Why would a tribe kill an infant with a blow to the head? Last but not least, how could an infant possess pointy canines? Are we to think that it was customary in certain tribes to file and sharpen babies' teeth? To what end? The DNA test was performed only on Chiquita, not on Pedro, because DNA testing was introduced only in the 1980s. Is it possible that if little people exist, they are a relatively recent genetic divergence from the Native American population, thus increasing the odds of errors by a relatively new technology? As usual, I should remind you that the most glaring difference between academic science and cryptozoology is that the latter accepts eyewitness testimony as enough reason for further investigation, with a foot firmly planted in the idea that we can't simply dismiss every account as lies and every witness as a crazy redneck. I must point out that there are many reports about little people out there. I don't have a piece of footage or audio or photos to support this idea, but the combination of logical fallacies illustrated earlier, the extensive folklore, and the significant number of sound-minded individuals reporting encounters with tiny humanoid beings, I consider the existence of a species of proto-pygmies in the North American continent a concrete possibility. Do you agree with this analysis? Is there any specific legend or mystery that you would like me to analyze? If so, please let me know in the comments. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, it would really help StrangeSpotting grow if you could push the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.